Are you tired of struggling to manage your cash flow? Do you wish budgeting could be simpler and more efficient? Look no further. The Money with Honey budget template is about to change the way you handle your finances, and we're thrilled to give you a sneak peek into its features. Our Google Sheets budget template is designed with your convenience in mind. Managing your finances doesn't have to be a daunting task. The Money with Honey budget template is designed to make budgeting a breeze, allowing you to focus on what truly matters in your life. Whether you're planning for a major purchase, saving for a rainy day, or simply trying to get a better handle on your everyday expenses, our template has got you covered. Start by making a copy of this sheet. Click on Use Template. Then go to File, then make a copy and save it to your own personal drive. I'm going to call this My Money with Honey budget template, and click on Make Copy. Start by completing Step 1 Info. Read the instructions before your start. Then move to Step 2 Setup. So you want to start with your start date. It is recommended that you review and redo your budget every year. This start date is whenever you're starting. I'm going to start with May 1st, and my starting balance in my bank account on May 1st is $345, so I'll put that in as well because I want my cash flow projection to be as accurate as possible. So make sure you start with whatever balance you have in the account that you'll be working with. If you have multiple accounts, then you do a summary of all the balances you have on those accounts. These would be the accounts you'll be using to receive your income or pay your expenses. So I'm starting by putting in my salary, which is $1,000. I get paid every 15th and last day of the month. I'm expecting the next payment to be on May 15th, so I just type in my salary here. The descriptions here are just for reference purposes. You can always type over whatever you don't use or whatever doesn't apply to you. My next income is my side hustle, which is $200 every 2 weeks. My next payment is going to be August 15th, so I put that in. The next section is savings and investment. I plan on saving $100 every week, and I want to start on the 12th of May. So for this category, I want it to be emergency and savings. I could leave it at savings and investment, but I just want to break it out that way for my purposes, and you can all totally do that. You can customize it however you want. Next grouping is fixed expenses or bills. My mortgage payments are $470 every 1 month, and the next one is the 1st of May, and I do that every month, and I want to categorize this as living expenses. As you can see, it's not on my list of categories here, so I can just go over to the category table and add it there. You wouldn't be able to type it right in here. You'd have to add it under the categories table. My next expense is food, and that's $100. I'm expecting to make the next food purchase on May 10th, and I do that every 2 weeks. I also want this categorized as living expenses as well. Next expense is my cell phone bill, so I'm gonna put that in. It's $30 and it's due on the 19th of May. I do that every month, and I want that to be categorized as life or variable expense. I have subscriptions that I pay for $22. Next one is June 1st. I do that every month, so I'm just gonna put that in. Car insurance $400. Next payment is expected on May 20th. I do this every 4 months. I want to categorize that as transportation. Again, I don't have to fill in these categories. It will just automatically populate based on the grouping that your expense is in. Next grouping is debt. I have a credit card. I'll call this credit card 1. It's very important that you don't duplicate descriptions here, so I put credit card 1 just to specify. All these debts are paid every month, and these are the minimum payments that are required. I'm not super focused on aggressively paying down debt right now. I'm more focused on just making sure I have my budget set up so I can automate my payments. Once I have the handle on that, in a couple months, I'll start debt payoff budgeting. I'll show you how I do my debt payoff budget. So for now, I'm just doing my basic budget where I make sure I have positive cash flow and all my expenses are being paid. I can also automate my expenses. Now for discretionary expenses. Again, all these descriptions listed here are for reference only. You can change them to whatever you want. And if you feel like groceries should not be discretionary and should be in your fixed expenses, you can put it there. This sheet has food listed as fixed expense and need, and then groceries listed as discretionary. things that you like to purchase, not needed but nice to have. So I just categorize them separately. You will see that my personal care expense is every 6 weeks. You put them in however often they come up for you. Next is fuel for my car, that's on average $55 every 2 weeks. I will categorize this as transportation. For end date, I want this budget projection to end on December 31st, 2025. It's good to know that even though you can have an end date of 2 years in the future, a lot of sheets in this budget only run for a year. So for example, to check if you're on budget or over budget, it would be checking only for a year, because it's recommended that you do review and rework your budget at least every year. So with all my income and expenses entered, it's showing that my cash flow is going to be in the red very soon. Most of it is in May, and we'll see more on that later. You will notice as well that I'm on budget for the sheet. However, my cash flow is in the negative. You will see why when we go over to the cash flow sheet. So even though I budgeted for a certain amount in this So on the income sheet is where you put additional income that may not be recurring or you haven't budgeted for. You can also add things to your budget from this sheet by adding your amounts under budgeted income. I just check off the income there to say that yes, that was correct. So then it will mark it as actual income. And you can do this either by month by checking the month here on the table in the middle of the sheet, or you can go to individual lines and check them off as you go. So it will just say, okay, yes, I've checked, these are the actual spending that I did. If they're not actually all the same, you just edit them under adjustment. It's the same for the expense sheet, non-recurring expenses or expenses that just pops up. If your expense dates are different than budgeted, you can add them here under actual. When you go over to the other table of Next sheet, cash flow. This sheet arranges your budget chronologically and will tell you when and how your money is moving. It will turn red when you run out of money, and you will see that I run out of money because I started with $345 and then at the beginning of the month I had my rent to pay. So I started going in the red and I never had income until the 15th. So this is what the cash flow does. It basically gives you a projection of where your money will be to prompt you to take steps to avoid any shortfalls. Either going into the red using credit or getting loans or whatever your situation is. It would just alert you on what to come and what you need to do to remedy it. The dashboard sheet here, it basically gives you a more graphical look at your budget. You also get a more detailed cash flow table, where you can choose when you want alerted your balance. If you want to be alerted when your balance falls below $500, you enter 500, and you will see when and by how much you fall below your target. This dashboard sheet looks at actuals versus budgeted, actuals versus industry recommendations such as the 50, 30, 20 rule, the Gale-Vaz-Oxalate rule, etc. In step budget calendar is a to-do list and a calendar in one. The date will automatically populate to the current month. However, you can change that. This sheet basically just summarizes all your income and expenses in a calendar form, and you can just check them off as you complete them. I want to highlight all items due in the next 5 days, so I'll change this to 5. Your expenses will highlight in the color that they're grouped in. You will notice that the background is gray. That means you are not allowed to edit anything here except check off completed items. The next sheet is the yearly budget sheet. It's just a table that summarizes your budget in a table format. It breaks down income and expenses over the months, and then it will give you a total and average for the year. It also does the snapshot of a zero-based budget to see if you are assigning a purpose to all your income, not spending but allocating to goals or investment, etc. So that is the Money with Honey budget template. Comment below if you need more help.